Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. We're still talking soccer with head coach Phil Heinsohn. Coach, so much of soccer is mental. There are plenty of teams out there with skillful players, but how much of a difference does it make when you've got that mental part of the game?
It's the most important part. Obviously you must have the players, the level of talent to compete, but it's the most important thing, not only in soccer but in everything, because ultimately you're dealing with human beings. So it's a big part, and that's the recovery we had from the Montevallo loss to Clayton was very important. And the response, whether we won or lost, the response, how we reacted to the loss. But now it's going to be the same thing. How do we react from the Flagler loss, where a game we could have won and probably would have been in the top 10 in the country. So that's key, how we address it at training today and how the guys react from that.
You've been using long throw-ins this year from Junior Payne Clark. What's the strategy behind this? And is he the next Rory Delap?
It's something that really puts the teams under pressure. If the more services you can get into their 6-yard box or 18-yard box, it puts them under a lot of pressure, makes it difficult to clear. And we've been successful the 3 years I've been here with that. And we actually caused fits for Flagler in the first half the other night, but nothing came off it. So it's something we're going to continue to do. And as long as Payne's arm and his shoulder are not bothering him, because they were a little bit the other night.
All right, well, you mentioned earlier you have to recover from the Flagler loss. Well, looking ahead, you have a big game coming up on Wednesday against Lander. The Bearcats are 7-1 overall and undefeated in conference with a 3-0 record. What can you tell us about Lander, and what do the Braves have to do to come home with that win?
It's same good team every year. From what I hear, they're a little bit better than they have in the past couple of years. So we beat them in a conference tournament. We played outstanding in the quarterfinal game last year, but we've got to, I think, put their defenders under pressure, because when you allow them to play, they're a very direct team. They get the ball forward quickly, so we've got to try and minimise the opportunity to do that. So that's something we'll try and address, and we're actually going to change certain things because of the red cards. We're going to completely change our system for the one game. So it may work, it may not work, but we'll give it our best shot.
Just check in to see how that's going to go.
Yeah.
The Peach Belt Conference seems to be particularly top-heavy this season, with Flagler, Lander, Montevallo, Young Harris, and UNCP all in the vowing for the title. Would you agree that the Peach Belt seems particularly strong this year? Is this just another average year in PBC action?
No, it's for sure. It's definitely very strong. Right now we've got 10 teams in there. 8 have got winning records, and I think 5, 6 of them have got high numbers of wins and very few losses. So our goal, not only for myself, for all the coaches, that we hope 4 teams will get in the NCAA tournament from the conference this year. We think it's very realistic, and we that's our main goal for the season, is to do that. But it's very strong, very competitive, and but it's fun to be part of as well.
We mentioned earlier in a couple interviews that you were in about how your team is definitely playing some pretty strong teams this year, and this just is unbelievable that you continue with it in Peach Belt Conference action. But I know you play Young Harris later in the season, but what do you know about Young Harris? They're such a new team to the Peach Belt Conference. You played them last year, but what do you know so far about them, and what are you going to take into the game when you play them?
From what I hear, player for player, they have the best players in the conference. They've lost a couple of games this season. They lost to Mars Hill. Flagler beat them on the road, but they got a red card in that game when they were winning. So it's going to be tough, but they definitely have a lot of strengths. They have a lot of kids that are transitioning through junior college that are maybe a little bit older. So it's definitely going to be difficult, and hopefully we can have success in that game. It's going to be important because we play them and Mars Hill, who's about 2 or 3 in the region. We play them back-to-back within 3-4 days of each other, so it's going to be 2 huge games.
Well, I know your season concludes with a pretty tough schedule. Looking at the other schools in the Peach Belt Conference, USC Aiken and Francis Marion, those teams don't necessarily seem to have as much hype around those games, but I mean, they still take strategy. What do you see with those teams compared to some of the other teams that put a lot of pressure on the game?
As far as NCAA tournament-wise, the loss against Flagler is not going to hurt us. If we had won, it would have been tremendous for us, but it wouldn't hurt us. It doesn't hurt us. But those are the games, the Aikens, the North Georges, the Francis Marions, we have to win those games. So unfortunately, you go in with them a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more pressure on the players, because it's the expectation is you're supposed to win, and they're the ones, if we want to get to the tournament, that we have to take care of.
Right. Well, you've had home crowds that have been both good and extremely loud this season. Do the players notice when you have that much support coming from the stands?
Yeah, it's definitely much nicer to play in front of a lot of people than 10 people. So we encourage as much as possible and hope they'll continue to come out and Obviously, it's human nature. The more you win, then the more people that want to come watch you play when you're better. So we hope that continues, and we fully appreciate the support we've had.
Well, with only about 30 seconds left, you've got a Philanthropy Project coming up the team's going to work on. Can you talk about that just a little bit before we sign off?
Yeah, the assistant coach, Paul Coleman, from Mount Olive, his son passed away recently from melanoma. He'd suffered for several years, so we're going to do something on the North Georgia game on October 13th, try and raise a little bit of money, just something. They've got excessive medical bills, and we're just trying to do our part to, something to show that we care and we appreciate what he's going through.
Well, thank you, Coach, and thank you for watching this week's edition of the Black and Gold Report. Until next week, go Braves.